There's something else that I want to say that this video has just inspired me to say, which is that I went shopping yesterday and I bought two fish that were like Dalmatian looking fish. I saw them in the shop the other week, but I was thinking that my aggressive male might be aggressive towards them because the aggressive male was aggressive to the two yellow ones. But I put all the orange ones in the same one, and now there's space in the other tank, so I knew that, and they're getting on very well. So anyway, as I went shopping, I was cycling past this sort of woman, and I guess I stopped on the bike for a second because there was a car, but during that time I just heard her say, I did never believed in God, and then this happened and I knew God was real. And it kind of just made me think, like, why would you only believe that God is real if God has had like a personal infliction or a personal sort of detection in your life? It's like a lot of people have this view that God is only real if God actually does something. So if you pray for something and your dream on your prayer comes true, that is a sign that God is real. So you might say, oh, I'll believe in you, God. There's this that interview that I've had, and I'll only believe in you if you give me this job. Whether you get the job or not, it's got nothing to do with me. I don't really care. I feel like if you're someone at the top, someone who's rich, or someone that can do lots with whatever it is, I would like to think that the people at the top have opportunities that I would control. Why? Because they're things that they do, say if they want to write a film or if they want to write music or whatever, I feel like a lot of this it affects the public. I might be willing to influence influencers, like even if it's just a YouTube video. If it's a YouTube video that I know is going to later get millions of hits, then I would, or even hundreds of thousands of hits, I feel like I'd be more willing to influence things like this. But yeah, when it comes to just, I don't know what she was saying. I have no idea, but it sounded like it was just maybe she met an old friend or something like that out of coincidence, and yet she wants to kind of pin it and thank God for this and because of this. There's a lot of people that have this. I think realistically, as they get older, they start thinking about death more, and the idea that they might die scares them, and so they kind of start believing in God, not because of anything God does, but just because they're older and they don't want to believe that they just die and go to nowhere, so they start feeling comfort in believing in a God. But a lot of people believe, they have this belief that God can only be real if God has personally touched them. Even though there's 8 billion people in the world, even though, I'm pretty sure there'll be other things that God would be wanting to do, because God is a real individual. She can do a lot, but yeah, controlling the daily lives of 8 billion people, or even just granting wishes for just the random person at the bottom, that is not something I would want to, that I would do. I would like there to be a test to find out who my people are, and when on the day that this test is revealed, I know who's going to accept me and I know who's going to reject me. Now, if I know someone is going to accept me, then maybe there are things that I would do in their life to give them better, to make them at the position or with the wealth that they have. But if I know that they're going to reject me, I guess I wouldn't be inclined to help them, or if I am inclined to help them, it's because I know that they can help me in other ways or whatever. But it's a little bit complicated, but that just inspired me to say it because of something this guy said.
And the torture and everything that was going on with the Christians. And he met this couple who were like spies, I believe it was. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read it. But one thing stuck out with me was that they, like Kevin used as an example with the guy in Peru, that couple said that they knew that there was a God out there. And they made this little euphemism up for his name. And when he got there, Richard Warren Brandon, he preached the gospel to him, because look how faithful God is. He used that man. He orchestrated all their lives for those two, that couple who knew of him. They just didn't know who he was. They knew he existed, though, to bring them together so he could deliver the gospel. And they were like, we always knew that was him.
I think that's kind of crazy. So a preacher has just gone to a couple and preached the gospel, and you're almost saying that the only reason why this group were orchestrated in a way was to reach out to these two people, and that is proof that God is working in these things, in these times. It's like, no, that is proof that a bunch of people believe that they are working for God and have reached out to these people.
He even had a name for him.
Paul did the same thing. He went there and he said, I saw you have a statue of the unknown God, right? Yes, let me tell you about who that unknown God is so that you know him.
Yep. But that's like you were saying, all the Old Testament saints, okay? They didn't know who the Messiah was, but they knew to be looking for him. And like you were saying about, like, you know, the Bushman that lives in Peru, I personally think, like, if there's a Bushman living in Peru and they understand that they can't be righteous, they understand they need God, they might not know who Messiah is. You know, and again, this is just total speculation, but what happens when they die? What happens when they come to the pearly gates and they say, why should I let you in? Well, I believe that God was going to save me. I don't know who his name is. Well, would you be surprised if I told you his name was Jesus? Jesus, okay, I'll take it. Right? You know, I mean, God knows our hearts. And so we're all saved. There's only one way, and that's Jesus. But God...
So it's literally just like saying, you can only get into heaven if you believe that God's name is Jesus. So it doesn't matter what you think this Jesus character sees as right or wrong. It doesn't matter what you think Jesus's principles are, Jesus' beliefs are, Jesus's, what he stands for. It doesn't matter anything about the God, as long as you know that his name is Jesus. It's like the only thing that is important is his name. You know, this is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. You know, if I was to tell people that, oh, you can only get into heaven if you say my name, and say if Isis was my name or Inanna was my name, people would just be like, well, how am I supposed to guess that? And it's just like, it would be stupid to judge someone by them believing that they know my name. I think that's totally crazy.
God has a way of reaching out. Like I said, I'm convinced, obviously, Abraham's going to be in the kingdom. He didn't know who Jesus was, but he knew that there would be a Jesus. He just didn't know his name.
He knew that he couldn't get there himself.
That's
it's about humbling yourself.
Exactly.
And saying, I couldn't possibly get here. No, I didn't see something that could get me here, except that I know that you exist. Can you get me into this place, you know? And it's like,
Amen.
Wow, that's a humble attitude. That's not, hey, look what I did, you know?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, there has to be something. Yes, there is something. I said my...
So you get saved if you believe that someone else saves you. It's not about what you did. It's not about like, oh, I deserve to go to heaven because I did this, that, and the other, and I'm a good person, and I've done lots of good things. No, it's I deserve to get into heaven because I know Jesus, because I know the name of God according to a book. That's horrible.
My son, and he died for you. And you've accepted him by accepting that information and accepting that. Now you know the truth. Come on in, you know?
Right.
God's a very loving
delusional,
God, too.
these people.
Yes.
They're
He is
delusional.
love. He is love. He is probably going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt as much as he possibly can. Let's be honest.
You want me to.
But if somebody rejects Jesus straight up and bows their knee at the end of the great white throne judgment, that's too late.
Too late.
So yes, when I say that I am Christ, I am the real God, are you going to bow down? I don't need you to bow down, but are you going to reject me or accept me? I really think that you're going to reject me because you have adopted this name Jesus and you are going to stick with that name. And yes, I need this to start. I need it to start because these people are horrible.
That's a good point, Kevin. Remember, Jesus said, "Those who deny me are condemned already."
That's right.
You have to deny him to be condemned.
Deny me. Do not deny me, which so many people do.